In this week's video, we go from a pile of parts to a semi-finished bumper like you see here. This video is for anyone who's into fabricating parts for their off-road vehicles, not necessarily just Jeep XJs like this one, but really any vehicle where you want to make a custom bumper using tubing and sheet metal. If that sounds interesting to you, you're probably in the right spot. I'm Dan from Build to Explore. Let's get started. Friday evening here, trying to make some progress. Trimmed these a little bit shorter and tacked on this stuff. This top bar will probably get the tacks cut off when we fully burn in these tabs if I don't have enough access. I think things are a little askew somewhere, probably with how the winch bar is mounted, because it's a little bit more clearance to the body on this side. Last night I bent up the lower bar, so that's what this is, and this will need to get trimmed to fit on the bottom over there. So that's the next step, is to see how I did on that, see if I need to bend it anymore. Get a sense of what we got here. I need to remove a little material on this part that's touching, keeping it from coming up into the saddle. And this is about the angle that I'm looking for, but this is approximately where I want it to tie in, but I need it to be bent more in order to do that. Not quite sure. Might sleep on this one. Hey, good morning. It's Saturday here on Labor Day weekend, and we're back working on the front Jeep bumper. And this is where we were all mocked up last night with this lower tube, trying to figure out how we want to tie this back in. I got my few test bends here, 30, 45, and 90. And I think what I want to do is put another bend in this tube, starting at this point, to help curve back in here a little bit more. You know, we were debating if this tube should bend and follow this one and kind of give it like an old school Toyota bumper look. I don't know that I want to do that, so I think we're still going to cope it in, but we're going to bend it and see what we come up with. I like how this bend kind of, obviously it's different than what's going on here, but complements it a little bit. So I think we'll try the same thing on the other side and see what we end up with. Alright, so we have a 25-degree bend on both lower bars. That's kind of lining up like this. So now, in order to cope this tube's going to end up rotating up and tying in closer. So I think I'm actually going to bend it a little bit more. So we are at 35 degrees on this bend. I think 25 here, 35 here. I'm tempted to add 5 more degrees here. All right, we are getting closer to something that I actually like. So this one is at 35 degrees. I can't bend it anymore because this tail's not long enough. I took this one from 25 to 30. So now, you know, it's wanting to tie in pretty far back, which is what I'm looking for. So until I cope this, it'll rotate up a bit. And I think I'm ready to try that now. Made one rough cut. You can see we're still way off. So now I'm gonna start taking off some of the stuff that's clearly excess. And hopefully we don't screw this up too bad. Been notching for, I don't know, an hour, and things are starting to shape up. I think I'm relatively symmetrical. I'm okay with this level of gap. I did end up, I don't know if you can see on the inside here, kind of hard to see. There's a larger gap there than I would like that we'll be filling, especially on this side. It's quite a bit bigger. Actually, we'll even that out when we weld it a little bit, but I'll probably be doing some filler metal in here. Wouldn't be good enough for a roll cage. Should be pretty good for what we're doing. So it's not perfect, never is, but you know, I'm relatively new at all this. I've only done a few roll cages, and some truck beds and stuff over the years. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull this whole assembly off. I'm going to be burning in these big tabs before I put this tube on, so that way I have better access. And then probably retest fit. Yeah, probably weld it all. And then the next step is going to be able to figure out where this sheet metal ends up coming in here to cover it. And then we'll get sheet metal here and dimple dies to match the back bumper. We're working our way through welding up the two main bumper pieces. So got the big tabs burned in, top tube burned in. Back side of this coped joint, gap's nice on the front side. It was ugly on the back side, but what does it say? A grinder and paint makes me the welder I ain't. All right, and then we got some welding to do on this bottom tab, and then this cope joint over here. So I'm gonna wire brush a little more and then do some more burning. These are the two front sheet metal pieces that'll go in the front of the bumper. We're gonna add 3 dimple dies on each one. So I'm drilling out the pre-hole for 1.5 inches. That one's a little off, we'll have to be a little more careful. Alright, so these panels are going to get tack welded in along here. Alright, got the dimple die sheets tacked in. Pretty happy with it. I have them artificially leaned back a little bit. So like it's farther in on the bottom than it is on the top. Try to give it the perspective that there's more angle there than what there really is, but I think it looks pretty awesome. I picked up 2 more Road Shock spotlights at Harbor Freight. We've been running these for the 24-hour event, and so I got 2 of the big ones, well, the 4-pot big ones up top. And then what I'm thinking is that these, we're gonna mount, basically we're gonna tuck them in, back in here, pointing down more than likely. Just trying to get some better lighting right in front, but not necessarily blinding anybody. So final updates for the week here. I made templates and cut out 16 gauge sheet metal to fill all this in. All that's got to be welded, obviously. Also trying out these Road Shock floodlights down here low. I have brackets. What you're seeing there is 1 inch by 1/2 inch 4340 chromoly and a bracket. Wish they were just a little bit smaller to fit better, but we'll try them on for size, see how we like them. And then we also still need to figure out where this Anderson plug, this is what my removable winch cradle plugs into. We got to figure out where that's going to come through. Originally on my hidden winch mount, it came through right here in the stock location. That's not going to quite work without channeling these tubes out quite a bit. So we got to figure that out. And this project is kind of wrapping up. So next week we'll get everything welded, grinded, painted, got the finished install, and then we're going to be moving on to a hybrid exo cage. So that means that some of the bars are going to be on the roof and the other bars are going to be inside, and that's because of how tall I am. I got to make sure I'm maintaining as much headroom as possible in the event we ever do get into an accident with this thing. So things are moving along really well. Thanks for watching, and make sure you like and subscribe so that way you can get the future updates and see what we're up to. Thanks.